LeBron, by the way, in 18.9.
Oh my gosh.
It's just too much of that action. And all God's people said,
Amen,
brother. High school 3-on-2 break.
Amen, brother.
119 to 96 is your final. Lakers, for the first time this season, have lost 3 in a row.
The Lakers have now dropped 3 straight games, and everyone seems to be avoiding the most obvious issue. LeBron James is still in Los Angeles, and it's time to have the uncomfortable conversation no one wants to address. His era with the Lakers has reached its natural endpoint, and pretending otherwise only delays what feels inevitable. What needs to happen next may come as a shock to some, but the signs have been there for quite some time.
What did you see overall in the game, kind of starting in that first quarter on the glass and the turnovers, and how that prevailed through it?
Yeah, the two words of the day were effort and execution, and I feel like when we've done both of those things at a high level, we've been a good basketball team. When we haven't, we're a terrible basketball team. And tonight we were a terrible basketball team, and that started legitimately right away.
Have you ever stayed in a situation far longer than you should have, simply because admitting it was over felt too difficult? That's exactly where the Lakers are with LeBron right now, and everyone seems to see it except them. The reality became impossible to ignore after the Lakers were completely dismantled by the Houston Rockets, losing 119 to 96 for their third straight defeat. That loss put a spotlight on what many have been avoiding: this team isn't working. At the center of it all is LeBron James, who finished with just 18 points in a 21-point blowout. For a player expected to lead a franchise into championship contention, that stat line says more than anyone wants to admit.
So they need to listen to you.
Oh, they got to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not in a. I mean, they pretty on paper, but they can't guard anybody. You cannot play in the NBA today if you're not athletic. You cannot. Especially big guys are irrelevant anymore. The game is led by perimeter players, and if you don't have athletic ability on the perimeter, you're going to struggle in the NBA. That's just the truth of the matter.
Let's start with the harsh reality that even the analysts on the broadcast couldn't ignore. Charles Barkley bluntly said the Lakers can't stop a bloody nose on defense, and that wasn't trash talk, it was the truth. The team opened the season at 19-7, which looked impressive on paper, but they've since fallen to 19-10, and their point differential is barely positive. That tells the real story. They were scraping by in close games early and are now being exposed. One analyst even labeled their record fraudulent, and honestly, that description fits perfectly. They may look respectable in the standings, but anyone actually watching can see the cracks. The Lakers can't defend, they have no clear defensive identity, and when adversity hits, they completely fall apart. This isn't a championship contender, or even a conference finals team. It looks like a first-round exit waiting to happen.
I think if they want to be a better team, they need to form some type of identity. I don't know which team I'm looking at sometimes. Sometimes they play fabulous basketball, even on the defensive end, and tonight it looked like it was lackluster effort.
I know it's traditional, but I think the Lakers need to play some zone until they figure out. Play some zone. Well, when you play zone, that's a throwing up the white flag, red flag, blue flag.
The broadcast even showed the Rockets running what looked like high school, level 3-on-2 fast breaks because the Lakers' transition defense was that bad. High school. That's the level of effort and organization coming from a team that's supposed to be chasing championships. And LeBron, long praised for his basketball IQ and leadership, was on the floor while all of this was happening. Here's the reality that needs to be stated clearly. LeBron James is 40 years old. He's the NBA's all-time leading scorer, a 4-time champion, and one of the greatest players the game has ever seen. But his time as the centerpiece of a championship contender is over. That isn't disrespectful, it's reality. Father Time is undefeated, and even LeBron can't outrun it forever.
Watching that game last night, and I was a teammate with LeBron James, grew up playing against him, played with him in AAU, McDonald's All-American. I know this man. When he's not engaged or he feels some type of way, it speaks in his body language. Last night, his body language was awful. He was not engaged, he was pouting, he was moping, he was walking up and down the damn floor, he was complaining. And I just think we're to this point, what LeBron and the Lakers their relationship has run its course. And they need to figure out a solution. And the solution is not him being in the Los Angeles Lakers uniform.
The bigger issue is that the Lakers have structured their entire franchise around keeping LeBron happy. They drafted his son Bronny, creating a historic moment as the first father-son duo to play in the NBA. It's a great story and a meaningful achievement for the James family, But from a basketball standpoint, it shows how decisions are being driven by legacy and narrative rather than what actually improves the team. Bronny simply isn't ready for NBA minutes, and everyone knows it. Yet he's on the roster not because of merit, but because of who his father is.
What kind of read do you have on the Lakers right now?
Yeah, the Lakers might be, that record might be a little fraudulent, right? Because they were 19-9 going to today's game. Sounds good, right? Well, now they're 19-10, and if you look at their point differential, it was barely above even. And so there's some cracks showing here because you do have Luka, you have LeBron, and Austin Reeves, but Austin Reeves left the game with a calf strain, and you have to be really careful with those things, right? Because calf strains can be tricky, they can flare into Achilles, and then all of a sudden you're lost for the season, so they're going to be really careful with him.
They've surrounded LeBron with role players like Austin Reeves, who left this game with a calf strain that could potentially become something more serious. Jared Vanderbilt and Marcus Smart are supposed to be the team's defensive anchors, but as one analyst pointed out, the offense often stalls when those players are on the floor. It's a catch-22 that J.J. Redick is trying to navigate, and so far, it simply isn't working. That leads directly to the coaching situation. The Lakers hired a first-year head coach with no prior professional coaching experience and placed him in charge of a roster led by LeBron James. That's a near-impossible situation. When things go wrong, and they clearly are, who's really making the decisions? Is it Redick, or is it LeBron, who has long been known for having significant influence over coaching and personnel decisions throughout his career?
Offensively, with those three guys on the floor, they have the 7th best offensive rating in the NBA. However, that defensive rating is 24th, and you saw it today. The Rockets got anywhere they wanted to go. They could not get a stop. KD goes for 25. Alperen Şengün has a double-double. Amen Thompson absolutely ruined those guys. Nobody could stop him today. And so if you're the Lakers, that has to be sort of worrisome for you that you can't get any defensive stops. Their best two defensive players are Jared Vanderbilt and Marcus Smart, but you have those guys on the floor, and now all of a sudden you're a little offensively challenged. I know Jared Vanderbilt had a pretty good game offensively tonight. We've seen flashes from Marcus Smart offensively this season, but it's sort of a catch-22 for J.J. Redick about how he mixes and matches.
The broadcast pointed out that when LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves share the floor, the Lakers have the 7th best defensive rating in the NBA. On the surface, that sounds respectable, until you hear that their defensive rating in those same minutes is 24th. That gap tells the real story. The Lakers can score, but they cannot stop anyone. In today's NBA, where the game is driven by perimeter play, speed, and athleticism, that weakness is fatal. Younger, faster, more athletic teams are running them off the floor. That's exactly what happened when the Rockets came into Crypto. Com Arena and made the Lakers look overwhelmed. Houston, a team known for inconsistency and lacking a true starting point guard, got whatever they wanted offensively. Alperen Şengün posted a double-double, Amen Thompson dominated the game to the point analysts said nobody could stop him, and the Rockets scored at will. It was embarrassing for a Lakers team that claims to be competing at the highest level. Here's the uncomfortable truth many don't want to admit: LeBron James is part of the problem. Not the entire problem, but undeniably part of it. At 40 years old, he can no longer play the consistent two-way basketball that championship teams demand from their best player. He can still score in bursts, but the defensive effort isn't there every night. The transition defense suffers, and when the team's leader doesn't set the tone on that end, the rest of the roster follows. One analyst made a point that perfectly describes the Lakers' situation. You cannot survive in today's NBA without athleticism, especially on the perimeter. Big, slow lineups are increasingly irrelevant, and teams that lack speed and quickness are exposed. That's exactly what's happening to the Lakers. As great as LeBron has been, he is no longer the athletic force he once was, and the roster around him doesn't compensate for that decline. The suggestion that the Lakers should rely on zone defense only highlights how bad things have gotten. As one analyst put it, playing zone is essentially waving the white flag. It's an admission that you can't guard anyone man-to-man and are trying to hide deficiencies with scheme. Championship teams don't do that. Teams in trouble do. Tim Doyle went as far as to say the Lakers have a 0% chance of winning a title. Brutal, yes, but given the evidence, it's hard to argue. At 19-10, with a barely positive point differential, the Lakers look better on paper than they do in reality. They're getting blown out by teams they should at least compete with and showing no signs of fixing their defensive issues. One analyst summed it up perfectly: they're like someone who looks great on a dating profile, but comes with too much baggage once you get to know them. The core issue is that LeBron's presence is preventing the Lakers from doing what they actually need to do: rebuild. They can't fully commit to developing young players because they're trying to maximize LeBron's remaining years. They can't make long-term moves because everything revolves around winning now. As a result, they're stuck in the worst place possible: not good enough to contend, but not bad enough to reset through the draft. LeBron, meanwhile, has no incentive to walk away. He's still earning max money, playing alongside his son, living comfortably in Los Angeles, and chasing records and milestones. What's best for LeBron at this stage of his career simply isn't what's best for the Lakers anymore, and those interests have clearly diverged. Avery Johnson's comments about casually speaking with Lakers players and staff were revealing as well. According to him, they know they're bad defensively, especially on the perimeter. In a previous game, the Suns scored on their first 13 possessions of the third quarter. 13 straight trips. That's not just bad defense, that's no defense. That's a breakdown in communication, effort, and accountability. And when effort disappears consistently, that's a leadership issue. LeBron is the leader of this team by default because of his resume and stature. But at 40 years old, logging heavy minutes and carrying the wear of 21 NBA seasons, it's fair to ask whether he can still provide the energy and leadership needed to change the culture. Based on what we're seeing, the answer appears to be no. This is a franchise that measures success only by championships. The Lakers don't celebrate division titles or first-round playoff wins. And this version of the team isn't winning a championship. Everyone knows it, except, apparently, the people making decisions. What should happen is an honest conversation between the Lakers and LeBron about what's best for both sides. Maybe that means trading him to a contender where he can chase one more ring as a contributor. Maybe it means retirement and a transition into a front office or ownership role. Maybe it means finishing his career elsewhere,